Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So just recently, the basketball player, Kevin Porter Jr., was allegedly arrested, for assaulting his girlfriend. Now, I said allegedly, but we all know how these situations usually turn out. And we also know that domestic violence is another one of those issues that is really prevalent in the black community. I've said this before, because he's not the first athlete that has put hands on his girlfriend or his significant other. And it's really sad because all over Twitter, people were making excuses for this young man, what he did to this woman, trying to say that, oh, she must have had it coming, or maybe he looked through her phone and saw something he didn't like. I don't care what happened between the two of them. I don't care if they were arguing. There was no excuse for what he did to this woman. Not only did he allegedly punch her repeatedly, but he also caused damage to her to the point where, allegedly, she had a fractured vertebrae. I don't think y'all understand how serious that kind of injury can be, and that can cause lifelong pain and issues for a person in the future. Like I said, there was no reason, no excuse, no justification for why he did this to this woman. What's also raggedy on top of that, another issue we have in the black community that's very, very common is people making excuses for abusers being abusers. And also giving men like him a free pass. And it's really going to happen because he's an athlete. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have seen athletes be excused for their crazy, degenerate, abusive, violent, aggressive behavior, especially towards women. And I've said this before. It's crazy because they don't have the same smoke for the other men. You're not going to see them getting into it with other men. No, they only do this to women and children. It's so raggedy, in fact. There will be other women in the community who have gone through, even some of them, the same thing, who will justify what some of these men do to some of these other women. It's ridiculous and it's sad. And unfortunately, a lot of these men, they have a history of abuse that has gone ignored time and time and time and time again. He's no different. Allegedly, he has a history of being violent and aggressive, going all the way back to 2019. This young man got suspended indefinitely at one point in time because of conduct issues. Now, we all know what that means. And even the coach admitted that he didn't want to suspend him, but had no choice because it was a conduct issue, which again leads me back to the point I made earlier. These athletes, they will go out of their way to keep them on the field, keep them playing ball, whatever they're doing, instead of holding them accountable for their actions. Allegedly, when he got traded from one team to the other team before the training camp even started, he punched a woman in her face and ripped off her weave, allegedly. Do y'all know how hard you have to be dealing with somebody to rip off their weave? That is ridiculous and disgusting. Then he got into more trouble because he allegedly was driving a car, got into a one-car crash, and was charged, allegedly, with improper handling of a firearm in a motor vehicle, failure to control a motor vehicle, and possession of that grass, if you get my drift. I can't say it here on YouTube because of the algorithm, if I'm not mistaken, but as you can see, the charges were dismissed. According to this article, soon thereafter, so he didn't even wait to try and fix his behavior right after the shenanigans that he just got out of, allegedly. He threw a whole temper tantrum in the locker room after they got a new player and his locker was moved, which then led to a confrontation with somebody else. Allegedly, he got traded again, and I guess he went a little bit longer this time without doing something crazy, but he still didn't really clean up his behavior issues. After the pandemic hit and the safety precautions and rules were set in place, he got in trouble and got slapped with a fine because he violated one of the basketball league's C-19 health and safety rules by visiting, and I quote, a Miami strip club. So from my understanding, all he had to do was not be in certain places. I guess they were maybe heavily populated by a bunch of individuals. And then on top of that, that same ordeal, he got into it with somebody in the parking lot of this club. Just in January of last year, this young man got into such an issue with one of the coaches, whoever team he was playing for, that the coach felt like the best thing for him to do in response to this dude losing his temper again was to suspend him from that game. So as I said before, clearly this young man has had a history of issues when it comes to his attitude, his behavior, his temper, being aggressive, so much so that he's gotten suspended multiple times, probably traded because of those issues, which never solved anything. It only put him in a new environment to keep doing it. Now, people have been bringing up the fact that his father allegedly also had some issues that were similar to this. Allegedly, this young man's father shot and unalived a 14-year-old some years ago. And also, when he was 4, allegedly, this young man's father was shot and unalived himself. So people, like I said, have been bringing up not only his history, but the history of his father, which if you don't think that that can have an impact on a child, you should definitely think again. Somebody should have gotten him some help early on in his life so that he could process this stuff and not turn out the way he did. But clearly somebody failed him in that area. Although we're not going to even use that as an excuse to justify what he did. We're going to hold him accountable for the actions he chose to commit. Allegedly, there were some red flags that came up during the relationship, which it was only 1 year that he had between him and his girlfriend. He had displayed some issues, some behavior issues, some temper issues with this young woman. Like I said, even within that 1 year that they were together, allegedly. Like I said, the response from a lot of the people within the community is what disgusts me the most. I really do hope with all my heart that she does or has pressed charges on this man. And even if she didn't, there are a lot of states that are now adopting this kind of new mentality where they are pressing charges in the stead of the victim. Because what makes me mad too, also, like I said, what we have going on in our community is victims not pressing charges. And I get it, sometimes they are afraid of retaliation, or sometimes, which, I think is a little more common, they just don't want to be the snitch, if you will, which is stupid. I've been said that that was a stupid mentality, especially for black women to have, because black women are the lowest on the totem pole when it comes to domestic violence situations. You do not get rewarded for allowing your abuser to abuse you, being made fun of it, and not doing anything if you can. I also think personally, I could be wrong, but I think that the states are getting tired of people who are getting abused, not pressing charges, and then ending up in worse situations or unalived, because then that causes even more of a problem than before, which is why they're doing this. Also, like I said, because of the stupid mentality that we've adopted in the black community to not do anything and to even allow abusers to walk around freely and not do anything about it. I also give a side eye not only to the NBA, which I'm not surprised because they do stuff like this all the time, but even the system itself, because like I said, this young man went so many years doing so much raggedy stuff that he should have gotten arrested for, that it's ridiculous. Had they arrested him the first time or did something other than just suspending him, because that does absolutely nothing. All they do is sit by their time and wait until they can get back to playing basketball again. But had they actually arrested him or did something harsher, some kind of harsher punishment, perhaps we wouldn't be in this situation right now. Perhaps his girlfriend would not have been in this situation right now. For whatever reason, this takes me back to the Chris Brown situation, where people love to excuse all of his raggedy actions, his aggression, his disrespect when it comes to only black women. And people like his fans and his supporters have the audacity to get mad when we bring that up, even though this same violence and aggression could have gotten somebody unalived. Like, that's not something that you just say, oh, it was just in the past, because a lot of these people, clearly they don't learn from past actions. They don't do better. They don't get therapy. They don't get help. They don't treat people better. And unfortunately, that's how it is with some people. The best way to handle them is to stay the heck away from them. Y'all can say what y'all want to, but when a person has displayed a history, like I said, of being violent, disrespectful, and aggressive, you look at that history and you follow suit. You act accordingly. You leave them alone. Stay away from them. Don't involve yourself with them, because there's no amount of you treating them right, acting right, being whatever they think they want from you is going to stop that. They have to be willing to do better themselves. They have to be willing to not put their hands on people and resort to violence. Learn how to control their temper. Like I said before, people want to get mad and say that people are wrong for labeling a person unmanageable and unworthy of being in a relationship with to any degree. But whenever their problems can cause you to lose your life, all bets are off the table. I don't care what anybody says. They can keep their raggedy opinions to themselves, You can give this person a chance if you want to, take that risk. But if anything happens to you, if anything takes a turn for the worse where you're concerned, people are going to talk about you, not that other person. The grand majority of people are not going to talk about how awful the abuser is, as they should. No, they're going to talk about the person who chose to be with them. Because we've seen this, like I said, happening in our own community, which is why I say the culture, the community is for the trash. But anyways, y'all let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel down in the comments below respectfully. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all have a safe and blessed day.